Welcome to UNCAGED, the show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today we have Vin Singh, the founder and CEO of Bullfrog AI, on the show with us. Hi, Vin.
Hi, Ben. Great to be with you today.
It's great to have you. I want to give you a little bit of a summary of Bullfrog AI. I'm really excited to talk more about the machine learning space. It's an area that I've spent a lot of time in over the last couple of years. Let me just kind of give the listeners an overview on Bullfrog AI. Bullfrog AI is business focused on proprietary artificial intelligence aimed at improving biopharma clinical development success. So pharma AI, and as I've spoken about in the past, this has been a year where pharma has been on everybody's mind. So I'm excited to talk more about that. But before we get into Bullfrog AI, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to the point where launching Bullfrog AI made sense.
Sure. So I'm a biomedical engineer by training. I have about 25 years of experience in the life sciences and biotech industries. Three-time founder or co-founder of an investor-backed company, including Bullfrog. I live in Maryland with my family. I love big challenges, and I love inspiring and leading others to buy into a vision and make it happen. The reason I started Bullfrog is throughout my career, I've always been very surprised and frustrated by the high failure rates in drug development. And even in human clinical trials, the final stage of testing, these companies fail about 50% of the time. And I thought it shouldn't be that way. It didn't really make sense considering all the experience and knowledge and expertise and resources that are available to this industry. So I decided I want to try to change that a little bit and make a difference, and that's why I started Bullfrog. And we were able to get our hands on a very powerful AI platform that was developed at the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab. So we're really excited about where we are and where we're headed.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about the specific type of work that Bullfrog AI is doing. You've been able to shorten or simplify the clinical trial process.
Yeah, so keep in mind it takes 10 to 15 years and $1 to $2 billion to develop a drug. A lot of time and a lot of money. So what we want to do is insert ourselves in that process, whether it's before clinical trials, human clinical trials, or maybe toward the end of that process, and basically use our technology to improve the chances of success. So our platform can look at genetic and non-genetic data, can find patterns, relationships, and predict targets of interest, things like clinical outcome or new drug targets and things like that. So we're really here to improve those chances for success and accelerate that process as well.
Well, I mean, obviously living through the pandemic over the last year, the need for a tool like Bullfrog AI should be obvious to everyone. Maybe based on what I'm seeing about AstraZeneca, they might have needed your product.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's there's a lot going on out there, and it's all a matter of using the right tool, for the right problem. And we've been watching what's happening with COVID, and part of the challenge with using AI to help with addressing this pandemic is really getting access to data, right? And in certain countries, I think it's easier. In the U.S., all the healthcare data is very fragmented. I mean, even within a state, there really is no central database. Forget the country. So that's been, I think, part of the problem. But I've heard stories here and there about AI playing a role. The other challenge is the virus itself is constantly changing, right? So that presents different kinds of challenges. But it may be the kinds of challenges that a company like Bullfrog could help with.
So tell me about that data question. I would imagine certainly the pandemic presents its own set of difficulties with data because one of the permutations and the changes that you're talking about, but two, just the rapid nature of everything and the messy data situation we've found ourselves in. But data in and of itself has been problematic to get kind of structured correctly. How do you guys go about getting over that hurdle?
Well, it's always a challenge. I mean, anytime we get a proprietary data set, the upfront process, the data engineering and the cleansing is really the longest part of the process. So, what's really important for us is having subject matter experts that can help us with that process. But what you're saying is really important, right? Because you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out, right? So if we want actionable insights and we want some precision in the analysis, we have to make sure the data that's going in, is as error-free as possible, and we have as much insight as possible up front, so that when we're doing the analysis, we're going through the iterations. Our findings actually mean something, and we can take action from there.
Yeah, so I mean, so I'm trying to get a sense of like operationally, how the product is utilized is very important. And I'd just be curious who uses Bullfrog AI in your client companies.
I mean, well, there are companies across the spectrum in the biopharmaceutical space, but you bring up a good point because um, biopharma has been doing things the same way for many years, right? And so when you introduce something new like this, there's an adoption curve, right? And everybody's concerned about how it will impact whatever they're used to doing for the past 50, 60, 70 years. They don't want it, even though they want to increase their chances for success, they're scared, I think, to incorporate really cutting edge technologies, right? It is a conservative industry from that perspective, even though they're developing cutting edge, therapies. So it's sort of an interesting balance. But I mean, we're working. Right now we're primarily working with smaller companies. I think the reason is typically they're developing one or two, candidates, and they got to get to the finish line. They really only get one shot, really, right? Whereas big pharma, failures are built into their model. They know they're going to fail half the time, even though they've spent those billions of dollars, right?
Right.
And they fail and they move on. That's part of it. And even then, they're still incredibly successful. So right now, our focus is more on the smaller companies that need that edge. They need
Yeah,
that.
no, I hear what you're saying. I think that actually Bullfrog AI can be almost like a competitive advantage for them, right? Which can essentially level the playing field, correct?
That's the goal. That's really the goal. The odds of, when you're starting a drug development program, you have a better chance of spinning the roulette wheel, honestly. So you can decide you want to, place those tens of millions of dollars on the roulette wheel or in the company. But it's a high risk, business. Obviously, it's a very important business, but we want to help increase those odds, even if we could do it a little bit, right? Just imagine the trickle down effect. These companies are going to benefit, patients are going to benefit. The industry is going to benefit. We're going to benefit. Insurance companies are going to benefit because insurance companies reimburse for a lot of medications that don't even work for people, right? How would you like, wouldn't it be great to change that? And then, ultimately what will happen is all these therapies will be more affordable to all of us. That's the end game here. And that'll be that'll make so what we're doing can really impact the entire healthcare infrastructure, which is what's so exciting about it.
Yeah, I can see how it really kind of hits on almost every area of the ecosystem. And hallelujah. I hope you guys can fix all those problems that anybody that has had to go see a doctor knows all the dilemmas that you're talking about. So So listen, Vin, it's been a crazy year that we've all been living through, and I like to ask this question to folks, certainly, especially someone who's been working closely with the medical profession. What's bringing you joy these days with what you're working on and the world around?
Well, for me, it's knowing that what I'm doing is going to make a difference in this world. I mean, that's really what we have to focus on. And that's, it's important because, like, what you said. I mean, the environment we're in today, it's rough, right? I mean, everybody's having a tough time, but uh, it's also because what I'm doing and what my company's doing is really really hard. you know, Starting a company from scratch and you're in the middle of COVID impacts lots of things, on the business side. So it just makes, if it wasn't hard enough being an entrepreneur and trying to do something big like what Bullfrog is doing, it's 10 times harder in the middle of COVID. And as as an entrepreneur, it involves tremendous sacrifice and really forces you to exceed your pain threshold,
Hmm.
right? And so I have to focus on the big picture, the higher purpose here, and that is ultimately we're going to be helping millions of patients around the world. That's the focus, and if you focus on that, you can block out a lot of the pain.
Yeah, I mean, the it's one of those lovely kind of entrepreneurs dilemma types of things, which is it's absolutely tough to start things that are new. And certainly, I would imagine, the pandemic has presented its own set of difficulties for sure in the medical profession. I think one of the things probably people forget is that when you focus on one thing, one disease, one problem, people forget about everything else that's
Right.
going on, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the future is bright, and I'd love for you because AI clearly is something that makes sense for companies that need to be more efficient and move faster. And one of the things I'd just be curious that I've seen in other business verticals over the last year is that hesitancy in those business verticals, let's say some of the larger players, to make that leap, to move into digital, to
Yeah.
realize that they have to reinvent their business from a machine learning perspective, seems to basically all of those objections, those classic objections that you've heard a million times, I'm sure, Vin, seem to be weakening. And so I'd be curious how you see the business evolving over the next couple of years. I'm hoping it's a positive structure.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely going to be a positive. But I think amazing technologies like AI and quantum computing obviously is becoming incredibly hot. It's about getting results, right? I mean, there's a lot going on out there, but at the end of the day, yeah, it sounds cool, right? And they're trying to tackle really big problems and interesting problems, but it's going to come down to getting results that matter, right? Um, and and I think it's also important that we embrace these technologies. There's a fear out there that the technology will replace the human, and I think for healthcare, that might be true in some industries. In healthcare, I see this as an enabler, a very valuable tool, and I don't see it as a threat to replacing human beings that are functioning in this space. But it's going to instead allow us, working in the biopharma world, the broader healthcare world, to perform at a higher level and be so much better at predicting, diagnosing, and treating diseases and injuries. I mean, I see that that's what's going to happen, and you know the bigger companies are experimenting a lot more with these technologies, I think, than the mid and small size companies, and it has a lot to do with probably the risk factors we were talking about. But I think it's slowly integrating now, into the process. So I think over the next 5 years, you're going to see some really amazing results. Okay, that's like I said, it's got to. You need results that everybody can see and appreciate.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to review those results with you as those things come out over the next couple of years. The point that you raised about the fear for humanity, that machines are going to somehow eliminate all their jobs, certainly seems to be misunderstood when we think of the actual problems, right? And I listen to you talking about the challenges of developing a drug. They're immense. There's
Yes.
so much data that needs to be crunched to make this happen in a seamless manner. There are so many errors that are made in that process right now. And any system like what you've developed at Bullfrog AI that can assist that is just an incredible breakthrough. So, Vin, thank you so much for joining us on Uncaged today and telling us a little bit about what Bullfrog AI is up to. If people want to reach you, where should they go?
You can reach us at bullfrogai.com.
Great, great. Well, listen, we've been talking to Vin Singh, who is the founder and CEO of Bullfrog AI. He's developed a company that focuses on improving biopharma clinical development success via a proprietary artificial intelligence platform. Thank you so much for being on Uncaged. Uncaged is a show that provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. We've had Vin Singh, founder and CEO of Bullfrog AI, on the show, and I'm excited to have you back on, Vin, to tell us more about some of those results that we're going to see in the near future.
Thanks, Ben. I'd be happy to come back.